You walk through a modern office building, or, maybe you log onto a video call, and there it is.
Right, sitting next to a coworker's keyboard.
Exactly. Or maybe it's artfully arranged on a big shelf behind them, just this raw, heavy chunk of pink stone. Or perhaps you have a friend who keeps a jagged purple crystal resting deliberately on their nightstand.
Yeah, you see these stones all the time.
You do. And you probably wonder about them, but you never actually stop to ask what they're supposed to be doing.
Usually, the default assumption is just aesthetic. People look at it and think, oh, that is an interesting paperweight, or that adds a nice pop of color to the room.
Right.
But according to the practitioners who actually place them there, those stones are performing a highly specific ongoing job.
And if you are anything like our typical listener, always hungry for knowledge, always wanting to understand the hidden mechanics behind the things you see every day, you probably want the actual story. So, welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to explore a fascinating source text we've been reviewing called Crystals in Paganism, History, Rituals, and Spiritual Practice.
It's a really comprehensive guide.
It is. And the goal here is to demystify the metaphysical properties of crystals, tracing them all the way from ancient history straight through to modern spiritual applications. And we are going to do it without overwhelming you with esoteric jargon.
Which is a crucial distinction, I think. The goal of unpacking this text isn't to convert you to a new belief system or endorse the metaphysics.
No, definitely not.
We are simply opening up the source material to give you the aha moments. We want to explain the specific why and the how behind crystal use, so that the next time you see that stone on a desk, you understand the exact mechanics of what modern practitioners are attempting to do.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand why that rose quartz is sitting in a corporate office today, the text insists we have to go back, way back.
Oh yeah, thousands of years back.
Right. The source material makes a massive point of tracing what it calls an unbroken lineage of crystal magic. It is framed almost like a historical game of telephone spanning thousands of years.
But instead of the message getting garbled over time, the technology, the crystals themselves, just keeps getting adapted for the needs of the current era.
What's fascinating here is the sheer consistency of the human urge to use these earthly objects for metaphysical protection.
Yeah, the text shows us this across vastly different empires. It explicitly pushes back against the idea that this is some, recent New Age invention.
Like it wasn't just invented in the 1970s.
Exactly. For example, in ancient Egypt, the text details how crystals were not merely decorative. They were highly valued and specifically engineered into amulets and talismans.
So not just jewelry.
Right. An Egyptian priest or healer wasn't just making a necklace. They believed they were creating a localized energetic shield for protection and physical healing.
But how did they believe that actually worked? Does the text explain the mechanism ancient Egyptians thought they were tapping into?
It points to the idea of inherent earthly power. Because the stones were forged in the earth under immense pressure, ancient cultures often viewed them as concentrated drops of divine or elemental energy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And when you move over to ancient Greece, that application shifts slightly toward information gathering, but the core belief in the stone's inherent power remains.
How did the Greeks use them?
Well, according to the source, they utilized crystals to create oracles. They used the reflective and refractive properties of the stones to divine the future and seek answers from the gods.
So the Egyptians are using them as shields, and the Greeks are using them as antennas. Mm-hmm. What about ancient Rome?
The Romans took that concept and applied it to everyday practical security. The source material notes that Roman soldiers and citizens carried crystal charms specifically designed to ward off evil spirits.
So it was more of a defensive thing?
Very defensive, almost militaristic application of the stones. They were viewed as active deterrents against unseen forces.
Then the text moves into the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, and the mechanics seem to get much more ceremonial. You're no longer just keeping a lucky stone in your pocket.
Right, this is where it gets a bit more theatrical.
Yeah, this is where the source describes crystals being consciously incorporated into complex rituals to invoke specific gods and goddesses. And it's also the era where we see the creation of dedicated magical tools.
Like wands.
Exactly. Practitioners start mounting crystals onto the ends of wands and staffs.
Because they were essentially creating focal points.
Mm-hmm.
By placing a crystal at the tip of a wand, the belief was that the practitioner could direct their own energy through the stone, using it as an amplifier.
And that unbroken historical thread brings us to modern paganism.
It does. The text argues that modern practitioners are consciously continuing these exact same practices. They study the Egyptian amulets, the Greek oracles, and the Renaissance wands, and they use that foundational logic to access the spiritual realm today.
It is a fascinating historical through line. The history shows us that these stones have been used for millennia. But what really stands out in this source text is that it doesn't just offer a history lesson.
No, it's incredibly practical.
Yeah, it acts as a highly specific mechanical manual for how a modern practitioner actually engages with this stuff. It treats the practice almost like spiritual engineering.
Which naturally leads us into the preparation phase.
Right, because the text is very clear. You do not just buy a crystal from a gift shop and immediately put it on your nightstand to do work.
Not if you are following the methodology laid out here. The text breaks the mechanics down into a very deliberate three-step process: selecting, cleansing, and charging.
Let's start with selecting.
So selection is the foundational step, and the source stresses that it must be entirely based on purpose. A practitioner must first isolate their specific intention before ever touching a stone.
And it isn't just about picking the right type of mineral either. The text points out that the physical size and even the shape dictate the mechanical function.
Yeah, it uses the example of a home.
Right. If a practitioner wants to create a generalized protective energy shield for an entire house, they are instructed to select a massive raw geode or a very large unpolished crystal.
But if they are trying to focus energy on one specific, highly targeted personal goal, the text says they should choose a small, tumbled stone that they can hold in their palm or just keep in their pocket.
The mass of the stone correlates to the radius of its supposed energetic field. But once a practitioner selects that stone, the text is adamant that it cannot be used immediately. It must undergo a cleansing process.
Right.
According to the source, cleansing is the mechanical act of removing any stagnant or negative energy the crystal might have picked up before it reached you.
Wait, hang on. I want to make sure I'm following the logic here. If I buy a crystal from a store, the text claims it might have essentially downloaded negative energy from the retail environment.
Or from the delivery driver who dropped it off, yeah.
Are we basically talking about wiping a used hard drive before we can install our own software?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is actually the perfect analogy for how the source material views us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The text does not treat crystals as static, dead rocks. It categorizes them as dynamic, living entities that constantly absorb, store, and release energy.
Okay, I see.
So yes, if a quartz crystal has been sitting in a busy shop, handled by dozens of curious shoppers, the text argues it has absorbed a chaotic mix of their energetic imprints. If you wanted to process your specific software, you have to wipe the drive.
And the methods the text provides for wiping that drive are incredibly tactile. Like, one method is smudging.
Right, with smoke.
Yeah, the practitioner burns specific herbs. The text lists sage, cedar, or sweetgrass as the most effective and physically passes the crystal through the thick smoke.
The theory there is that the smoke acts as an energetic solvent, stripping away the absorbed data, to use your analogy.
Another highly recommended method is bathing the stone. Placing the crystal in a bowl of sea salt and water for a few hours is described as a way to let the salt draw out the impurities, much like a poultice draws out an infection.
But the method that felt the most literal in the text was burying the stone. The instructions say to literally dig a hole and put the crystal back into the earth for days or even weeks, depending on how large it is.
The earth itself is treated like a massive grounding wire.
Exactly. You are plugging the stone back into the planet to neutralize its charge.
It is a very grounding concept, but wiping the hard drive is only half of the maintenance. Once the old data is gone, the text says you have to provide a power source. You have to charge the crystal.
You are intentionally adding positive energy back into the stone so it has the fuel to function at its highest potential.
So if cleansing is formatting the drive, charging is plugging the laptop into the wall. How does the text say a practitioner actually transfers power into a rock?
The most fundamental method relies on celestial bodies. The text instructs practitioners to leave their cleansed crystals in direct sunlight for active, vibrant energy, or bathed in moonlight for more subtle, intuitive energy.
But there are more active methods too. The text describes a practitioner using a previously charged crystal wand to literally point at the new stone, visualizing a beam of energy transferring between them.
Or, interestingly, using sound.
Right, the singing bowls. The source talks about placing the crystal near a Tibetan singing bowl and striking it so the sustained acoustic resonance washes over the stone.
And that introduces the most critical mechanical concept in the text, vibration. The source posits that everything in the universe vibrates, but crystals, because of their perfect atomic symmetry, vibrate at an incredibly stable high frequency.
And that stability is allegedly why they can hold a charge without their internal structure breaking down.
Okay, so the hard drive is formatted, the battery is plugged in and charged up via sunlight or sound vibrations. What is the actual application?
How do we move from maintenance to active, practical use?
Right, because the source material doesn't just say crystals are good for you. It gets intensely specific about which stones perform which functions.
It provides distinct encyclopedic profiles for dozens of minerals. For instance, clear quartz.
The text categorizes clear quartz as the master amplifier. It is said to amplify human thought, general environmental energy, and even the effects of other crystals placed nearby.
It's like the volume knob of the crystal world.
Then you have amethyst, the classic purple stone. The text specifically associates its frequency with peace, detailing its use in reducing stress, calming anxiety, and aiding in sleep.
And rose quartz, the pink stone we talked about on the coworker's desk, is explicitly tied to unconditional love and the healing of emotional wounds.
Citrine, a bright yellow crystal, is tied to joy, abundance, and the attraction of wealth.
While tiger's eye, which is that striking brown and gold-banded stone, is utilized for courage, grounding willpower, and manifesting good luck in difficult situations.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The text doesn't just list these properties randomly. It actually maps these specific stones and their exact colors directly to the human body through the chakra system.
It is literally color-coding your spiritual health.
But how does the text justify that? Why does a green stone do something different to the body than a blue stone?
The source grounds this in the concept of light frequencies. Chakras, for context, are described in the text as swirling energy centers located at specific points along the human spine and head.
They regulate physical, mental, and emotional health.
Right. And the text argues that each of these energy centers vibrates at a specific frequency, which corresponds to the frequencies of the visible light spectrum, the colors of the rainbow.
Oh, I see.
Therefore, a crystal that naturally reflects red light is vibrating at the exact frequency needed to interact with the red energy center of the body.
It has a wildly specific mechanical theory. Let's walk through how the text maps this out on the human body, starting from the ground up. So the lowest point is the root chakra, at the base of the spine, which is associated with the color red and feelings of physical security. So practitioners are instructed to use dark red or black stones like garnet, hematite, or red jasper.
Moving up slightly to the lower abdomen is the sacral chakra, which governs creativity and passion. Its frequency is orange, so the text pairs it with orange stones like carnelian or sunstone.
Then we hit the stomach area. The solar plexus chakra. This is the center of confidence and personal power. The color is yellow, which is exactly where your citrine and tiger's eye come in to boost that specific frequency.
Next is the heart chakra, located in the center of the chest, governing love and compassion. Its primary color frequency is green.
Now, this is a fascinating nuance in the text. Earlier, we noted that rose quartz, a pink stone, is the ultimate crystal for emotional wounds.
Right. The text explicitly links rose quartz to the heart chakra, alongside green stones like aventurine and malachite, suggesting that pink and green frequencies both resonate with the heart's energy center.
Continuing up the body, the throat chakra governs communication and truth. Its frequency is blue, so the text pairs it with striking blue stones like lapis lazuli and sodalite.
The third eye chakra, located on the forehead between the eyebrows, is the center of intuition. It vibrates at an indigo frequency, making it the perfect match for amethyst and fluorite.
And finally, the crown chakra at the very top of the head, representing pure spiritual connection. The text associates this with violet or pure white light, linking it to clear quartz and selenite.
Right.
But here's my question. Does a practitioner just lie down and balance a pile of color-coded rocks on their body and wait to be healed?
The text is very clear that passive application is rarely enough. The practitioner has to provide the spark.
So they have to do something active.
Exactly. The source outlines a practice where you place the stones on the corresponding body parts, but then you must actively visualize the energy. You have to close your eyes, take deep, regulated breaths, and mentally picture the specific frequency of the crystal pulsing and flowing into that blocked chakra.
Wow, it is a highly active, demanding form of meditation.
And the text says that requirement for active human participation carries over into manifestation rituals, too. If a practitioner wants to use that yellow citrine to attract abundance or wealth, they don't just hold the rock and wait for a promotion at work.
Right, the source outlines a rigorous ritual process.
It involves utilizing the crystals as anchors during meditation. The text instructs the practitioner to hold the charged stone, chant specific mantras to focus the mind, light corresponding candles to add elemental energy, and repeat clear affirmations out loud.
All while visualizing the energy of the crystal radiating outward to pull that abundance toward them.
It is entirely about the practitioner directing the frequency. Using a single crystal to tune a specific chakra or focus a personal intention is a core concept.
But the source material doesn't stop there. It outlines ways to scale this up. It details how to combine multiple stones and even how to use them to communicate with entities entirely outside of ourselves.
This takes us into what the text categorizes as advanced practices, and the most prominent of these is the creation of crystal grids.
Okay, what is a crystal grid?
A grid involves taking multiple cleansed and charged crystals and arranging them symmetrically along a drawn geometric template like a flower of life or a spiral within a sacred space.
The stated goal is to link the individual stones to create a massive combined energy field.
Exactly.
Wait, creating a crystal grid on a geometric template sounds almost exactly like building an energetic circuit board? Are practitioners just placing components on a motherboard and directing metaphysical electricity?
This raises an important question because it strikes at the very heart of how the source text claims any of this works. The text states definitively that the physical arrangement of the stones, no matter how geometrically perfect, means absolutely nothing without the practitioner's intentionality.
So you can't just arrange them and walk away.
No, you can arrange rocks in a pretty circle all day long, but they remain inert.
So the practitioner's the power switch.
Precisely. The text says the grid must be activated. The practitioner must focus their deep intention on the central stone, mentally visualize that intention traveling outward along the geometric lines to connect with every other crystal, and sometimes seal the circuit by speaking a mantra or prayer.
The human mind is the power source, completing the metaphysical circuit.
That level of focused mental intentionality is also the primary requirement for the next advanced practice the text covers, which is connecting with entities.
The source literally outlines how crystals can be used as a communication bridge to speak with spirits.
It breaks this down into different types of targeted connections. For instance, if a practitioner wants to connect with nature spirits or elemental guides to seek environmental wisdom, the text recommends using clear quartz.
But the mechanism isn't just holding it, right?
Right. The specific visualization technique requires the practitioner to hold the quartz and imagine a brilliant, blinding white light bridging the gap between the physical room they're sitting in and the spiritual realm.
And if the goal is to communicate with ancestors, the source says the toolkit has to change completely. You don't use the high-frequency clear quartz.
No, the text suggests using dense grounding stones like black tourmaline, smoky quartz, or dark amethyst.
And the mental mechanism changes too. Instead of projecting a white light, the practitioner is instructed to meditate on the stone and visualize themselves physically stepping through a dark doorway or portal directly into the spirit world to ask their ancestors for guidance.
And, that idea of crystals acting as a communication device naturally bleeds into the text section on divination. The source details how to use stones to bypass the conscious mind and access hidden information.
Like scrying.
Yes. The most famous method discussed is scrying.
Scrying is that classic, almost cinematic image of a person gazing into a crystal ball, right? But how does the text explain the actual mechanism of doing it?
It describes scrying as a way to trick the brain. The practitioner sits in a dimly lit room and gazes into the reflective surface of a polished crystal sphere or mirror. The instruction is to let the eyes lose focus. By staring at the visual static of the crystal's interior, the conscious mind eventually gets bored and relaxes, allowing the subconscious mind to project imagery, symbols, or insights into the practitioner's awareness.
The text also covers pendulum divination, where a crystal suspended on a chain is held perfectly still and the practitioner asks a question.
Right, and the minute subconscious muscle movements of the hand cause the crystal to swing in specific directions to indicate yes or no answers.
All of these advanced practices, the energetic grids, the spirit communication, the subconscious divination, they require an immense amount of focus. Because of that, the text concludes its practical instruction by explaining that practitioners rarely do this at their kitchen table,
No, they build a dedicated crystal altar.
creating a sacred, separated space. And the source makes it clear that an altar is not just a display shelf for your mineral collection.
Far from it. The text suggests engineering the space to represent the entire natural world. It instructs practitioners to incorporate physical representations of the four elements alongside the crystals.
A feather to represent air, a heavy, raw stone for earth, a burning candle for fire, and a small shell or bowl of water.
Along with the specific magical tools we mentioned earlier, like the crystal-tipped wands, metal chalices, and engraved pentacles.
The altar brings the entire philosophy of the text full circle. It is the physical manifestation of everything the book covers: the ancient history, the requirement of deep intentionality, the reverence for nature, and the manipulation of energy, all gathered and organized in one highly focused space.
So what does this all mean? We have traced an incredibly dense journey today. We started with the protective, engineered amulets of ancient Egypt, explored the mechanics of formatting and charging stones like biological hard drives,
Walked through the meticulous, color-coded frequency matching of chakra balancing.
and finally looked at the creation of geometric grids and spirit portals in modern paganism.
It means that when you look at the source material comprehensively, you see something much deeper than a trend.
Whether you are a devoted practitioner who spends hours cleansing and charging a complex home altar, or you are just a curious learner trying to understand why your coworker has a pink rock on their desk, this text reveals a profound human consistency.
It highlights an enduring, thousands of years old desire to connect physically with the earth, to find order in nature, and to harness our own internal intentionality and project it out into the universe.
It is a genuinely beautiful way to frame the human experience.
It really is. Before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought experiment, pulled straight from the end of the text. In the final chapters, the source mentions a highly advanced, highly specific type of crystal divination called retrocognition.
Retrocognition. It is one of the most ambitious concepts in the entire book.
It is defined as the practice of using crystals to access hidden information about past events and even past lives.
So think about everything we just unpacked regarding the mechanics of these stones.
If crystals truly are natural storehouses of energy, if the text is right, and they act like ancient living hard drives that have been silently recording the Earth's history and human energetic imprints for millions of years.
What forgotten historical secrets, or even past life memories, might be locked inside that simple piece of quartz sitting silently on your shelf?
Just waiting for the exact right frequency to be unlocked.
It is a concept that guarantees you will never look at a simple piece of stone the same way again.
It really does. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking questions, keep looking for the hidden mechanics behind the everyday world, and we'll catch you next time.